One very most important attribute towards having a great personality is to forgive one another. Forgiveness is very essential for each and every human being because most of the time it becomes very difficult for us to forgive each other, especially when it comes to closer relationships. It is said that it's only weak people who cannot forgive one another. If you are mentally strong, emotionally, or if you're strong by soul, you will not have difficulty in forgiving people. But if you're not able to forgive people, that means you are a person who is weak emotionally, uh, emotionally, or mentally weak person. We should understand that forgiveness washes away sorrow. We might have a lot of unpleasant incidents happening in our life. We might get irritated by people. We might be rejected because of dishonesty of people towards us. What are we going to benefit by carrying the hatred and the anger for the rest of our lives? It is only going to give you sorrow. It's only going to, you will keep thinking over the same problem, pondering over the same thing again and again and again. And finally, it's only going to add up to your burden and it's going to make you a person with sorrow. So, forgiveness will wash away sorrow. If you are able to forgive that person and there ends the matter, your mind gets free and then you can go ahead with your regular work. So it is very important to understand that only a weak person will refuse to forgive, and forgiving one another will wash away sorrow. Burden comes down. Once burden comes down when you forgive. Imagine, for example, one of your close friend had done something to you which you are not able to forgive, or you never expected that person to do that to you. Because you've had a very good relationship with that person and you've trusted that person so much. And of course, end of the day, each and everybody, we're all human beings and anybody can make mistakes. So maybe your friend had to cheat you once, or maybe your friend did not meet the standard of your expectation of honesty. You can always call your friend and confront and then forgive your friend for the mistake that he or she has done. Instead of having the hatred within you and carrying it over for the rest of your life, it's only going to become a burden. Forgiveness will help you get rid of the burden. For example, a teacher, okay, a teacher addressing a class gave a particular, okay, let's take this marker, okay, given this marker and asked a student to hold it and asked the student, how much do you think it weighs? Or do you think it's very heavy? The student said no, and he was happily holding the marker. The teacher asked the student to continue holding it for another 10-15 minutes. And the teacher repeated the same question, is it becoming heavier? The student said, not very much. The same question was asked to him after half an hour. By this time, the student's hand had started to pain because he's been holding it for a lot of time, for a longer period. The teacher asked, is it heavy? He said, no, but my hand is paining. The same question was asked to him after 2 hours. The student said he couldn't hold the pen any longer. See, from the beginning to the end of the 2 hours, it is the same pen, it weighs the same. But it became heavier for the person who was holding it because the person was holding it for a very longer time. So, the same thing happens with problem also. Problems are very light, but it becomes a burden, it becomes heavy as long as you keep holding it. It will not take much time for you to just let it down. Once you forgive a person, you just leave your problem down. It just gets over there. When you forgive a person, it just gets over immediately. But instead of forgiving, we keep holding the issue with us for a longer time. which is only going to bring burden for ourselves and not for the person who has committed the mistake. We always regret later. Sometimes, especially for people who emote very easily. There are few people who cannot control their emotions, who cannot control their anger. They emote very easily. Such people, they regret later. But there is no use in regretting for something that has happened in the past. Past is past, it's over. You cannot erase anything. You cannot work over on it again and again. So instead, what you can do is stop regretting for what has happened and learn from it. Okay, this is what I had done. Maybe I was not very patient with my friend. I was not very patient with my sister or my brother, with my mother. So learn from your mistakes and don't commit it again. That is very important. High temper or anger. As I said, it is very hard, especially for people of these days. It's becoming a task for us to control anger or control emotions. We emote easily, especially when it comes to anger. We vent out very easily without thinking about the consequences. There's always a solution. You can talk and conclude on a solution instead of getting hyper and getting irritated or fighting with that person and creating a very nasty situation. So it's always better to talk when you're in a higher temper, when you're in high in temper, or when you're so angry. It's always better to calm down and talk to get the problem sorted. Anger affects mind. It disturbs you. It disturbs the stability. Your mental stability gets disturbed. So it is very important to let go of your anger. Don't keep carrying. See, it's all interlinked. That's why I said if you keep carrying issues, it's going to make you a weak person. It's going to bring sorrow to you. It's going to, make you. It's going to burden your problems are going to become burdens. So it's always easier to forgive people so that your mind doesn't get affected. A person who's committed the mistake against you will forget it. Maybe if you refuse to talk to that person, maybe a few days and then the person will forget, and the person is going to lead a happy regular life. But it's you who is going to be haunted. You are the person who's going to be hurt because you keep thinking over the same thing again and again, because you're not able to understand the fact that your own friend has done injustice to you. So it's always better to forgive instead of carrying it and burdening ourselves and affecting our mental health also. Forgiveness removes stress. Again, interlinked. Don't keep thinking about the same thing over and over again. Stress and stress related health issues will be washed away if you start practicing to forgive one another. I think almost each and every religion, whatever religion we follow, I think each and every religion preaches the same thing. It speaks about how important it is to forgive people. See, unnecessary criticism and unnecessary comments are always there. It is always existing everywhere. You cannot expect people around you to always praise you or thank you or keep appreciating you. Criticisms, you should be open to criticisms. It is very important to have people who criticize you around you, because such people will help us to learn. When you have critics around you, these critics will help us learn. So it is important to have critics. Never get disappointed when you have people around you who keep criticizing you. Critics are very important for the betterment of one's life because they teach us. They point out places where we have flaw. So obviously we can work on that or on those points, and we can become a better individual. We can we can uplift our life pattern or our lifestyle. So it's very important to have critics around you. Sometimes criticisms are very annoying. I completely agree. But you should always learn the 10% mantra. Okay, there's a mantra which is called the 10% mantra. There are 10% of your friends who who have a unique character, who do not get along with you, whose thoughts and actions are way different from what you are. 10% of your friends who are not very loyal. There are 10% of your relatives who are always annoying, especially when there are occasions, when there are family get togethers, when you have relatives there. Most of your relatives, at least not most, at least 10% of relatives will be passing comments on your dresses, the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, or talking about your future, your academics, things which might annoy you. There are always around 10% of people who are meant to criticize you. So understand, it's very easy if we understand that this 10% is there everywhere. Wherever you go, you will always find this 10% of people, your friends, your relatives, or any regular people that you meet who are there to give criticism. We need to learn to live with those people. There is no other solution for this. Such criticisms, if you think they are all effective criticism, you can take them and you can work on them. But if you think that you are already in the right way and these are all unnecessary critics or criticisms, just learn to live with them. They should not touch you. They should not affect you in any way. Learn to bear with or put up with criticisms. It is very important to practice forgiveness to live at peace. When you practice forgiveness, you make peace with everybody. When you make peace with everybody, you make peace with your soul. Peace with soul also. You need to learn to forgive yourself first for all the mistakes that you do. When you learn to forgive yourself, you automatically forgive others also. Forgiveness is compared to fragrance. Fragrance is something which spreads the aroma. Right? Aroma cannot be confined to one particular place. Aroma is something which moves around. Okay? So forgiveness is like a fragrance. Apart from giving joy and pleasure to you, this moves around. It becomes aromatic. It moves around to everybody and gives joy and pleasure to everybody. Last but not the least, I want you all to remember this example of Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha was once walking on the road. And there are so many people who were there standing on each sides of the road, few welcoming him, few just standing there to watch him. And there was one man who was scolding Buddha with bad words continuously. And Buddha did not react to it at all. After a point of time, this man came to Lord Buddha and asked him, "What's wrong with you? I've been scolding you since that time. Aren't you getting irritated? Are you not getting angry?" Lord Buddha asked him, "Dear brother, if you have something to offer me and I refuse to take it, to whom does it belong to?" The man thought for a while. "If I have something to offer you and you refuse to take it, it remains with me. It's mine." Lord Buddha said, "Yes, I refused to take words, so it remains with you. They all go back to you." And the man walked away with shame. So it is very important to have critics around you, but it's even more important to decide what you are going to take and what you're not going to take. Do not let criticisms disappoint you. Because when you start avoiding unnecessary criticisms, it's nothing to do with our ego. It's just that it remains with that person. People will irritate us, but it's up to you to do or take whatever you want. So forgiveness makes a person strong. Only weak people cannot forgive. It washes away sorrow. It brings your burden down. No need to regret later. Learn from your mistakes. Learn to forgive. There's absolutely nothing wrong in going and asking for apology. People who are high in temper and anger should learn to lower down their anger, because you regret later, but the damage caused is already caused. Anger will affect one's mind and it will only increase stress and stress related issues. It is very important to have critics around you because they help in the betterment. They help us learn from our flaws. The 10% mantra is to be remembered always. You have this 10% of your friends, your relatives, and regular people around you always who are always meant there, who are always there to only give comments or criticisms or complaints. We just need to learn to put up with those people. Forgiveness help us to live at peace, peace with others and peace with one's soul. Forgiveness is compared to fragrance. It's an aroma. It spreads to everybody around. And last but not the least, it's very important to understand Buddha's concept of how when you start ignoring critics, it's only critics which are definitely good criticism. Yes, we need to welcome unnecessary criticism. People who are passing comments, I think we need to learn to put up with them, or we need to learn to ignore, because we are definitely not going to lose anything by learning to ignore unnecessary criticism, or learning to work with our high temper. Learning to put up with people who instigate temper in us.